and read in the midst of perhaps a depressive episode, and not a lot.
Yeah, it's been November.
It sure has been.
What's the Taylor? It's is it Dark November? Been down since July. I felt that.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like from Evermore, I think.
Oh,
a deep track, the album that's forgotten.
Sure,
it's the epitome of a winter album.
This is the second time Taylor Swift has come up in our conversation since we started talking.
Mm-hmm. The first one was me saying that whenever a new Taylor Swift album comes out, I don't want to like listen to anything else, which means audiobooks are fraught. So it becomes challenging, and then I finished Immortals After Dark, so we can finally have me stop talking about them because I'm done. And so like that was like my first few days of November, and I had a wild experience with that series. But before we get into that, I suppose we can be good noodles and introduce ourselves like we never do.
We never do.
We never do. So yeah, I'm Hannah, and I am so happy you're here. Hopefully you're here and it's not just dead air.
And I am Caroline, and I am once again tired. I feel like the last time we introduced ourselves, I also said that I'm tired. I'm still tired. That's my constant state of existence, if I'm being honest. I'm tired. I'm slumping hard. Audiobooks are not working for me for the most part. I do love laying in bed and staring at the ceiling and contemplating life.
See, I don't even want to contemplate life. I just want to be able to like have nothing in there. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite work. Yeah.
So
my mom was like, "Oh yeah, it's Saturday today, right? Today is currently Sunday," and I was like, "No, unfortunately, it's not. It's Monday tomorrow and a full week."
That is devastating.
Thanksgiving's coming up. We're gonna be reading some like Thanksgiving romances.
This is true.
A few.
I feel like I have one.
I'll share with you the few that I have. Hopefully they spark some life into this autumn season.
Oh, it's weird because I always joke that I have like I'm not like diagnosed with any various mental illnesses. I just have theories, you know? And I joke that I have like reverse seasonal depression. Like the summer makes me sad. I don't like summer. It's too hot. I'm stuck inside all the time.
You are in Texas, yeah.
It's not good. I love the fall though. Usually I perk up. Like I don't love daylight savings time, but like once it starts getting dark, it's finally cold here. That never happens, but all of a sudden it's like not above 65 degrees for the next week, which is thrilling because it was like 80 degrees last week. So I'm like, yes, it's fall finally. But now I'm like mentally not in a good place, which is rude because normally this is the time of year I perk back up and I'm like ready to go. It's cold. I can like sit outside or like put a fire in the fireplace, read some books. I'm struggling. So I don't know who to sue. But I'll look into it. I have a friend in law school who can help me out with that, I think.
You know, let's just sue them all. Because, I mean...
Just them all.
I feel like autumn here in Minnesota has been just... It was like 70 and 80 for a long time. And then it was just like casually like 50 and beautiful because then like fires and stuff. And now it snowed today, yesterday. This whole week is going to be like 17 degrees. And
that's insane.
I was freezing today. For some reason, I think most Minnesotans can agree that we don't really accept like wearing winter coats before December. So like even if it's like 17 degrees, I'm just in like a vest and maybe like a hat and some mittens.
Oh my God.
And like that's just what happened. Like no one's wearing jackets. And it's like below freezing.
That's unhinged. On the other hand, Texans will put on a winter coat when it's like 60 degrees. And like I lived in the Northeast for the first 10, 11 years of my life. So like, well, the Northeast in Europe. So I'm not, I like the cold. I'm fine walking around without a jacket in like 50 to 60 degree weather. 50s is a little chill. I'll throw on a light jacket for that. But like, I'm not doing a coat.
Yeah.
And Texans will pull up in like a parka, like a thick winter coat when it gets into the 60s, and I'm like, y'all, it's just not that bad. I understand a little like light jacket. It's a little a tad nippy, if you will.
Did you ever watch Ned's Survival Guide? Ned's like school survival guide?
I feel like, I mean, I like saw it when it was on, but I didn't watch it.
There's an episode with Cookie, and he gets this like lovely, huge, puffy jacket, and it's like 90 degrees, and he wants to wear it to school. I don't know if it's like the first day, and he gets heat stroke.
There is something that like really speaks to me about that. Not about, well, actually, yeah, about wearing a coat when it's too hot, when it's like the new thing that you just really want to wear. Because I absolutely have worn the wrong thing for the weather just because it was new, and I was like, I'm gonna wear this.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look so good. And then you look stupid.
I have pictures of me probably like freshman year in college. I found this like lovely jacket. I can't remember the brand, but it was like goose down. So like she's hot. Like she is thick. And but it was like stylish. It was like almost kind of like a bomber jacket. But I found it June. And I was like, this is my personality. So a Minnesota summer, I mean in July, I can get up to like 100 degrees. I probably wore it on like an 88 degree day. Worst mistake of my life. We were like walking around looking for thrift stores, and I was like, I just want to look cute, but I was like dying inside and out. It was terrible.
It's rough.
Yeah, but
it's rough.
They make an outfit.
We should get to the point.
Yeah. Well, no, the point is books.
Now that we've bantered.
Oh, books. Okay.
TBR Tuesday. What have we read in the past couple of weeks that we would recommend adding to your TBR?
Ooh, that's a hot topic question.
I have only read 4 books in the past few weeks.
Okay.
And I would I would recommend some of them.
Okay. Well, we love that. We love a slump. We do love a slump.
It's rough out here. It really is. I'm about to finish. It's not even a romance. Because I was like, what if I tried reading something else?
I saw that. I think on your like coffee chat on TikTok. I was like, whoa. What is that?
It's a horror short story.
Oh boy.
Collection, I guess.
Are you being scared?
Well, it's also like about I don't know how to explain this. Like women's bodies. I don't know. It's Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, I think. And the thing that I'm learning is like I want to be one of those people that like reads like horror or kind of more speculative fiction, like almost poetic. It's very like literary, right? And I feel like I used to be somebody who read more along those lines. I don't know that I ever got it, but I sure could pretend that I got it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I get a couple of the stories were like interesting, and even if I don't feel like I completely understood her point, they like made me think about certain things, and I think that's totally valuable. But some of them I finished, and I was like, I don't know what I just read or like what the point of that was. It just was like weird. Yeah. And I'm sure it's very deep, and somebody could unpack it for me, and I would be like, oh, wow, that's really great and insightful. But as it is, I just read it and was vaguely unsettled, and then was like, but I don't know what the point was.
That's my entire experience in college, undergrad, English major. I read a lot of good stuff, but sometimes I was just like, that was vaguely upsetting, and I don't want to think about it.
Didn't care for that.
No. It's really hard for me to branch out. Like the farthest I branch is like YA, like thriller, high school murder things for reasons unknown. I think it's because like I just cannot relate because I am not in high school anymore. And so they are less like pertinent to my life. And the audiobooks always go very quickly. So I have what's it by Holly Jackson? It's her new one.
Good Girl's Guide to.
She's that author.
Okay.
I think it's 5 Survive. I think that's this one that comes out at the end of November. I have that audiobook, so I've been waiting for that, so I should listen to it before release, obviously. But I'm excited for that. But yeah, other than that, I truly cannot escape the romance. But I do agree, a good slump breaker that could hopefully maybe work.
I mean, there's also like I bought a fantasy book the other day that just came out and I haven't read fantasy in a long time, but it was the 3rd book in Maggie Stiefvater's Dreamer trilogy, which is the trilogy that followed the Raven cycle, which were like the books that got me back into reading. I would die for the Raven cycle. They're just so weird. But see, interestingly, and I actually backpedaling would recommend Her Body and Other Parties, especially if you're somebody who reads like other kind of more literary things or enjoys like horror that kind of genre. Like, I can tell it's good, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, this is good writing, and it's making me think things and feel things. I just am not, like, a very literary reader anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, do it that way you will. Anyway, interestingly, the Maggie Stiefvater, this series, reminds me of it in the sense that it's also really weird, and it's also, like, I don't always know what's going on, but I'm having such a good time. And the characters are just, like, acting like their worst selves. And I'm like, yeah.
Naturally.
I love that. So
like, yeah.
I might read that book just to try to break it up a little bit more, but I don't know what the slump is.
How far have you gotten into Immortals? Maybe go break it with one of those.
It might be time to
get the edging like no other.
Which one is next? It's not Rydstrom.
It's not? Oh, it's Cades.
Yeah, Cades.
Okay, Cades was good. Cades was good.
Well, see, I'm doing those on audio, though, and I just started the audiobook of Lizzie Blake's Best Mistake by Maisie Eddings because my hold came in for that one.
It's hot out here.
I might just be like, never mind. Everything is going on hold. It's time to read about some demons. It's fine. Everything is great. Everything is fine. I can read books.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm in the middle of, like, 12.
I will say, though, that series put me in a slump as well because I hate it. Like, I despise some of the books, okay? But the ones that I love,
well, like, it's like what is it, 18 books?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't like all of them.
No, you sure can't. Not when you're me. Yeah. I classify myself as, like, a low-key casual hater. I thought I was more mean than I actually am, apparently, because I keep my, like, reviews and highlights on my Instagram page, and I have the most 5-star reviews. Like, this year I've read the most books of 5 stars. So, like,
interesting.
Who is she? Like, what?
That's a shock.
I know. My highlight was, like, full, and it was like, you have to delete some. I was like, okay, well, I was being a good citizen. But yeah, so apparently I was just due for some hate. I don't know. But the ones that I love, like, I love. Like, the last one was super good. But there was a hot second there where I was just angry at the world, and if anyone came in contact with me in my real life, I was just bitter and I was pissed off. But yeah, so I finished that. I read was that 6? I read 6 of those in November, and then I split that up. The last one, so between the last 2, I read The Counterfeit Scoundrel by Lorraine Heath, and that comes out sometime in 2023. It's like February, I think. Lorraine Heath is one of my favorite authors. It wasn't my favorite by her that I've ever read, but it was still very good. I had a good time. I believe he pours chocolate on her. I think that happened. So get ready for some chocolate shenanigans.
Like, gross, but also I'll read about it. I would never do it, but I sure would read about it.
Yeah, it was so basically he pretends to have affairs with wives who want to get divorces. And so he's got a terrible reputation. He's, like, been in court multiple times to, like, give his account of all of the shenanigans. But he's never actually, like, been with any of them. And
it's
then
giving the Sarah MacLean. Any rogue, which one is that? My favorite one. The Rogue Not Taken. There's too many rogues in historical romance.
There really are.
Lots of rogues.
And there's also an Eva Devon one, I think. It's like The Wedding Wager or something. He, like, is always, like, seen jumping out of, like, windows and stuff. And I think it's, like, to pretend to have affairs, but it's
The Rogue Not Taken is. He, like, comes out of windows and breaks up engagements.
Yeah. So I think that's, like, the general gist. And then she is a private eye hired by one of the husbands to see if he is in fact cheating with his wife. So it's a little bit of mistaken identity, I guess. I don't know how you classify that. But I do always love a good, identity. Like, he doesn't know, he shouldn't be attracted to her. He's like, I've never, like, done anything with a servant. So he's very stressed. And she's also stressed because she sees him with all these women. She's like, oh my God. She's a boss ass bitch. I do love her. And then I read one that you've read, which was In Which Margo Halifax Earns Her Shocking Reputation by Alexandra Vasti. Very, very fun, very charming. Again, a virgin hero. We do love to see it.
We do love to see it. We really do.
What was your next one?
So first I did Happily Ever Afterlives by Olivia Waite, which is it's actually 2 novellas. But
this was the Incubus.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't think I've talked about it on here yet.
I don't think so.
I mentioned it in our Halloween episode because I wanted to read it, but I couldn't remember what the plot was. And I was all stressed. I couldn't find them anywhere, and it's because I was searching for the first one is like Damned If You Do, I think. And I kept looking for it, and it like wasn't showing up. I couldn't find it, and I was all stressed about it. And then it turns out it's because they are available on Kindle Unlimited. It's just it's under 1. So if you're gonna read it, you gotta read both. Happily Ever Afterlives. The first one is it's a historical paranormal, but the first one really doesn't feel quite as much like a historical because it takes place in hell. So
naturally,
yeah. So the premise of these is that the heroine is a demoness in hell. She tortures souls. She's just gotten a promotion though, so she's just gonna have 1 soul assigned to her to torture. And the guy that she gets was a lord.
Thank God.
I think he was an earl, maybe something in London Regency, whatever.
Yeah.
Or maybe Victorian. I don't know. And he has been damned to hell for the sin of lust. And boy, has he committed some lust. Like, a lot of it. And he's like, I thought for sure it would be the, like, murder. And she's like, what? Stop. And so it's not, it turns out I think he was killed in the army. Like, he enlisted in the army and went off and fought in a war. Yeah. And she's like, oh, self-defense doesn't count against you. It's definitely the lust. That's why you're here. And he's like, well, I sure did do that. So that's fair. And so she, like, whips him every day. They live together, though, is the thing. It's so funny to me because she just, like, takes him back to her little house. She chains him up outside. She spends all day whipping him, and then they go to sleep. And she has to, like, rub ointment on him to, like, heal the wounds and stuff so that he's all healed up by the next day. So they have these weird bonding moments.
Huh.
And he's very into, she's like an artist with her torture. Like, he's very into it. Because it's like psychological almost. I don't know, but he's super into it. And eventually he like low-key kind of seduces her and she's kind of into it. So she's still like torturing him during the day, but then she'll like put the ointment on and like heal him up and then they'll have sex. And they like they fall in love, I guess. But then Satan's like, hey, summons. And it turns out his former fiance, who he was never in love with or anything, their parents arranged a marriage between them. And he didn't want to marry her, which is why he enlisted in the army in the first place.
That's another critical blow.
She has journeyed into hell to save his soul and bring him back to life. And he doesn't want to because he's in love with this demoness. So I won't spoil... Well, I mean, I guess it does kind of spoil because she's the heroine of the second book.
Okay, I was like, that really sucks. But that's just my luck.
There's a happy ending, obviously. I just won't tell you how we get to said happy ending. But in the second book, she has now... Basically, Satan was like... she was so annoying. She was so annoying that Satan was like, when you die, you're not going to hell. I never want to see you again. You may not go to heaven. I don't know where you will go, but like, you will not be coming here.
The heroine of book 2?
Yeah. And also, well, because she like badly played a violin, like a la like Orpheus, but like badly. That's how she got in. It was so painful to listen to that the demons like cowered every time she would play it. Iconic of her, no. The second novella is my preferred of the two. And Satan was like, you're off limits. Like, none of the demons can touch you. You're off. They can't mess with you. But now she's back in the real world, changed forever, as someone who's now journeyed to hell and back. Her life is abysmal, and also she can see demons, and there's demons all over the place. They're like the little guys on like whispering bad things in people's ears, making them sin. So she can see demons nobody else can. She's fucking miserable, and this really hot naked incubus shows up and is like, what's up? Becomes weirdly obsessed with her. They carry out this affair, and then obviously they fall in love. And the epilogue did make me cry a lot.
Ooh.
And I think it would make you cry in the way that Lorraine Heath epilogues.
You did tell me this.
Getcha. Because boy, do we start thinking about mortality.
Fuck that. Yeah, no, I definitely encountered that in the Counterfeit Scoundrel. Yep. I was like, I wasn't supposed to cry. And then I was crying.
Were they the best things I've ever read? No. But they were short, and I had a good time.
They sound very fun.
Like, why not? The second one in particular, I really enjoyed. The first one was fine.
Too annoying for Satan to handle you is going on my LinkedIn profile.
It's actually on my resume under skills.
Annoying Satan so badly he doesn't want me to stay in hell.
You actually will
Therefore,
not catch me
I'm
in
blessed.
hell. He was like, yeah, you're not coming here. We've determined you will not be coming back to hell ever again. I don't care what happens to you after you die.
Beautiful.
So
okay.
There you go.
Well, I for sure want to read those. Maybe it'll help me like get over Immortals After Dark. Because I already have the urge to reread, and I have to like slap myself.
No. You gotta go for some like these demons are green skinned.
Ooh.
Actually, I don't know what the incubus looks like. I don't actually remember. But the demoness in the first book is green skinned and she has wings.
Oh, I love that.
Because why not? I think he does too.
Yeah.
I think he's the same. I just kind of blocked that out because I didn't like imagining it.
Why not take a crazy chance on a naked incubus?
On a green-skinned naked incubus who just shows up in my bedroom every night and has wild demon sex with me.
Well, isn't that the dream?
Is it? I don't know that it is. And the Catholic in me is like, maybe we shouldn't mess with demons. Maybe that's not the move.
Well,
my friend Monica, she is also on Bookstagram, but she posted about what book just came out that was about a demon. I feel like I read it. I know that I read it.
The demon one you read for Halloween. I got drunk that one time. I got drunk and saved a demon.
I don't. It was Charming Your Dad. I think was the one she was talking about.
That one.
Maybe where she like posted on her Instagram story, and whatever it was something along the lines of like, I want to read this. Like, I've heard such good things about it, but I'm Catholic and it makes me nervous. Like she wasn't sure if she could read about demons. And I was like, that's me with like Sierra Simone's Priest. Like, I don't think I can ever read a priest romance of any kind. I can't.
Yeah. I saw someone's TikTok about her very Catholic parents came over and she had Priest and the other one on her bookshelf, and the father was like, whoa, my people.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, don't.
Listen, to each their own. I simply will not be reading it for the same, and not the same reason, but I feel like I also probably won't be doing a lot of mafia romances.
Yeah.
I just I understand what it's doing, but like maybe not for me. The mafia may not be for me.
Yeah, it's just not what I'm attracted to. Like, that's just not the type of hero I really want. So
okay, so I thought that, but I started reading The Dark King by
Gina Maxwell.
Yeah. I'm only like a chapter and a half in, but he's like a fae king who runs Las Vegas strip club. And he's like the wealthiest guy. I don't know. He's like a big, powerful strip club owner boss guy who also is a fae king, but like exiled. I don't really know. But the point is, he's basically a mafia boss, but like magical. Like, he brings in a guy who is like beating up the girls because he was the manager and he was beating up the girls and like asking for favors and stuff. And he brings him in and like fucks that man up.
I think the magic element can save that for me. Yeah,
I think, and I don't know, but he basically wasn't doing anything magical except the guy was like, "You're a fairy, like I know it," and he like transformed for a second, to like show him he was right before he, murdered him. Basically, he didn't murder him; he just ruined him.
Nice,
but it wasn't even. It was like literally could have been a scene out of a mafia romance in the way that he just like beat the shit out of that guy for touching the girls. And so maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you are wrong.
Maybe that can work for me.
Yeah, I think, like, obviously I'm a sucker for, a capitalist, like, Lisa Kleypas hero. Or, like, you know, like a gambling hell owner.
I also
like
love
that.
a capitalist hero. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I want money. I want to marry rich. So sue me. So fucking sue me.
And he can provide.
He can provide. It's what I want. Therefore,
like in the real world, a single income household in this economy, not likely. However, Derek Craven, I haven't even read that book. He would provide.
Yeah. See,
single income
whenever Heroine is like, I don't want your money, I just want your love. I'm like,
that's
no.
such nonsense.
I'm like, no. The money and love is a bonus in the job of life, because you need to do what you got to do.
Frankly, he owes me.
Yeah.
For being a man, like you owe me.
It's the blue tax. Whatever. We have the pink tax. He's got the blue tax.
That's what it is. You just need to pay for things now.
Yeah.
This is not a standard I would hold a real man to, by the way.
No.
But I would if they were like a wealthy gambling hell owner.
Would I love to marry rich? Yes. Would I love for him not to potentially be involved with any crimes? I sure would love that. I don't want that stress.
Cool.
Because, you know, it's like Julia Roberts got George Clooney in the Ocean's movies, but like at what cost? You know? You know, there's a lot going in there. So I think I'd need like I don't know, something that makes good money but like isn't gone all the time. I need to investigate.
Doctor?
I feel like they're gone though a lot.
It depends on the kind of doctor.
Okay, I need a fancy doctor who works 2 days a week and charges exorbitant rates for consultations. So
maybe like a plastic surgeon or something.
Yeah, we'll do that.
There you go.
Right?
That's a lie. I could marry a doctor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the land of Mayo Clinic, so I should just journey down to Rochester and have a ball. Well, as much of a ball you can have in Rochester.
Anyway,
so I have a note on the priest business. So the only priest I've been invested in is in The Bells of St. Mary's. It's an old movie with Bing Crosby and Ingrid Bergman.
Oh, you've told me about that.
Yeah, she's a nun and he's like a father, and it's completely non-sexual. This is an old movie. They are not doing anything, but this sexual tension and the chemistry, I am not even attracted to Bing Crosby. He can tap dance with Danny Kaye all he wants, but like he's not really for me. But in that movie, oh my god, I was just like, they need to get dirty, and they didn't. Which makes sense, but also I know. But they wanted to. They wanted to. You could see it in their eyes. I don't know why they made that movie so sexually charged. I don't.
I feel like all old movies are weirdly sexually charged in my experience.
We had like a long conversation a few weeks back about just like old movies.
Because the kiss from, I don't even like that movie, Philadelphia Story, with Cary Grant and Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn. I didn't even really like the movie that much. But
that kiss.
But the drunken kiss between Jimmy Stewart and Katharine Hepburn was perhaps the steaming, like, it was the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life. My pants melted off, and I was like, what's happening? Because he's not even the hero.
Which is wild.
She ends up back with Cary Grant, as if Cary Grant didn't physically abuse her, which is how they ended up the character, not actually Cary Grant, but which is how they ended up divorced in the first place. And Jimmy Stewart, a handsome newspaper journalist, whatever I don't know, is right here, and he's kissing you like that, and you're gonna go back to Cary Grant? I mean, I love Cary Grant. Don't get me wrong, that man is so fine, but like, Jimmy Stewart's right there. Oh. I'm heated. Jimmy Stewart, pick me. Mary, pick me.
Mary, Clarence.
Zuzu's pedals. Is this? We are talking too much. What's your next book? Oh my
god. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring for Gregory Peck. I'll go for you, babe.
That man he is on a poster on my wall.
Thank God.
Right now.
Thank God.
Roman Holiday, but
I would do things for that man. Things we don't need to get into.
Finch glasses
That's what I'm looking at right now. Yep.
Look at that man.
Yep, he gets it. I just don't think they make humans like they did back then.
What
Obviously,
is
it was
going
like
on?
I don't know. They looked at the quality of the pictures in the film and just how they look. Obviously, they have like 10 layers of lead on their faces and like they're not doing too hot, but they look hot. And I want to like
so handsome.
And you can't recreate that. No matter what a photographer tries today or like a videographer or whatever, cinematographer, like you just can't. And they look so rugged. So like their eyes are always glistening. Like they just
know. What really gets me is that like Jimmy Stewart, not an attractive man physically. Like I think he's funny looking, but like every time I see him in something, I'm like, what? How did you're just built different? Like I don't know.
My next book is 2, and they're both by Courtney McCaskill. What's an Earl Gotta Do and The Sea Siren of Broadwater Bottom. That is a tongue twister, and I have a hard time saying it. What's an Earl Gotta Do? I read these not too long ago, but it feels like long ago. They're both very good. I read the first one, How to Train Your Viscount. I was going to say Viscount, but whatever.
Together.
I know.
Even a historical romance reader.
I know. Well, it's because like at the beginning I didn't listen to audiobooks, so I just had my
Viscount. Yes.
Yes. Yep. So the first one is I think the hottest in my opinion. That's How to Train Your Viscount. There's like a lot of like Egyptian artifacts and sex in a sarcophagus, I think. There's a lot going on with that one. And then the second one is childhood friends, and then he gets sent away to Canada, and his proposal, like he was trying to like tell her before he left. It was a whole thing with the crown or whatever. And then he went to her house. She was visiting people with her mother. He left her a note. There was a mean man at the house who pretended to be a nice man. He took the note after the guy left, burned it, replaced it with one that he gave to the butler that was just like, peace, I'm leaving for Canada. And then she ended up marrying him, this Mr. Winter or whatever the fuck his title was. And historically, I hate setups like that. I hate that. I mean, yes, this Winter dude died in like 3 years. He somehow got some comeuppance, but the eternal comeuppance, I guess. But I still, it just always makes me. It always makes me a wee bit sad, just for the woman who gets played like that, because she didn't know. And like he wasn't like a terrible husband, but he wasn't anything great. So then obviously our hero comes back immediately after he hears that this other guy died. He is right in the game again. He, rescues her from all these suitors who she doesn't really need rescuing, but he's like, well, she's mine. And like everyone in the town knows. Everyone knows that he's always loved her. She's the only one who doesn't know. Yeah. And then the whole thing is that he wants to go back to Canada. She wants to stay in London, England. Why did I say London, England?
It's never know. It could
London,
be another one.
Is it like London, Texas, or whatever, that episode of Wizards of Waverly Place? Or is it Paris, Texas?
Paris.
Yeah, Paris. Okay. And so that's the whole like driving force of that, is them trying to figure it out. Very enjoyable for a plot setup that I generally don't like. I was pretty happy with it. And then the third one was a Virgin Hero. Very fun. It was kind of like a fairy tale one. What did I write? Oh yeah. So they're two what do you call it? They're not translators, but they're like, you get like a text and then I suppose you translate it into like from ancient Greek into, modern words for them. And so they're both that's the summary's not there. Good Lord. Okay, well this is me winging it. Basically he has got perfectionism. I think in the author's note there's like a clinical term for the type of perfectionism he has that like truly like messes with his like psyche, and like if he doesn't succeed because he's the first son, he's the heir, he just obsesses about it and feels terrible. And he got second in a championship for this translation, whatever the hell it's called, and it's lived with him ever since. And then she is this secret translator that has taken the scene by storm. And then they're hosting this like challenge. His brother signs him up on a bet, so he's got to do it. He's scared. He doesn't like people. He doesn't want to do this. And then she's also going to participate. He doesn't know that she's the secret one. She is the daughter of his tutor, and so she's always loved him. And he was always very nice to her. He was always like the only one who was nice to her whenever they were studying together. It was very fairy tale-esque. Like, he rescues her on like a white horse, and they're on boats a lot of the times just reading. Very cute. And like I said, the virgin hero always takes it up a notch. And the ending was very emotional. I was not prepared. And I really liked how his framing, because like at the beginning he was definitely like, I have to win. Like, he knew why she needed to win, but he was still like, no, I need to win. Like, I can't. Like, his pride and his vanity and stuff, but then also just like his perfectionism. And then I think we've all kind of been there where like you don't get top in something and you're just, it kind of eats you alive. And like the arc that he had with how he like reckoned with that was like very sweet. And like the guy who beat him, he's also at the competition, and it was just so wholesome. It bumped it up to 4.5 stars because I was just like, oh my god, I wasn't supposed to cry, because I literally finished, I think it was this one and then the Lorraine Heath, or like one way or the other. So I was just crying a lot that night. But Courtney is a great writer. So I would definitely check that series out. The language is definitely very modern. So like, if you're not into that, maybe shy away. But sure, it's pretty explicit, like sex scenes, and I love her writing. So that's my shout out. What's your next one?
I mean, I've read a few other ones, but I think the only one that I really would mention, for now, is Aphrodite and the Duke. J.J. McAvoy. This one, I think it's a debut. I could be wrong. I feel like it's a debut. And if I am wrong, then I will say that the book feels like a debut. I didn't like it initially. I started with like the digital, a digital copy of it, and the dialogue felt a little weird to me, and so I ended up putting it on pause and coming back to it as an audiobook, and that helped a lot.
I saw you say it's in first person.
It is in first person.
Stresses me a bit.
So that is like my one, because like overall I think the story was fine. There were a couple of kind of wonky pacing things, but like overall I was having a good time. The villain got what was coming to him. I feel like it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the story. The epilogue made me cry. It was very sweet. I'm hoping we see more of this approach to like, there's a author's note in the beginning that's basically like, this is historical, like it's fiction. Some of the characters are black. Like, just deal with it. And I was like, nice. Because I like that approach of just like, they just are. This is fiction. Who cares?
Yeah. My favorite thing is Amalie Howard at the end of her YA novel coming out, Queen Bee. She calls it an anti-historical because basically it actually is historically accurate, which does have people of color represented in the Ton and in London. So it's just basically like, traditionally, like historical romances are actually not accurate, and they're just whitewashed. And so her author's note, you could just see all the arguments that I was going to take down with people like coming at that book just saying that's just not realistic. Like, I loved it, but so I do love that approach.
Okay, so this is not even a little bit of debut. She has written many, many things, but I think it's her first historical.
Gotcha.
Maybe. The rest of them look contemporary. So maybe that's why it feels more like a debut to me. Because I
the others,
her other ones are,
they look
contemporary, or like they look kind of mafia-esque. Basically, I don't know. I have not read anything else by this author. I would be interested in reading other historicals by her. Because it was good. I enjoyed it. It was just, my one thing with it was the POV. Because I think it's really hard to do multiple POVs in first person.
Yeah.
unless you make them really distinct, and also you have to have a really good reason for me. Like, I don't have anything against first person, but it really needs to be one person. And this one was it was imbalanced anyway, because there's kind of a mystery around why the hero, Evander, like, they were betrothed from the time they were kids. They were in love, and then he basically just, like, didn't call on her and then married someone else.
Yeah, see, that's the setup that I was talking about. So, like, maybe no one interfered in that sense, but, like, being in love and then marrying someone else just rarely works for me. I get so sad.
I mean, that wasn't really my issue. I mean, I didn't have an issue with the setup at all. This actually may not be the book for you, but
I know. Now I'm a bit scared. I have the audiobook too.
Well, but because that's kind of a mystery, and, like, he doesn't tell her initially why, and she's like, "You're gonna need to explain before I talk to you ever. Like, I need more information." And there is, like, a lot of other things going on, but it's kind of a mystery you don't find out right away. And so, of course, for probably the first half of that book, you don't really get any of Evander's POV.
Yeah.
But you do get a couple of other side characters where, like, all of a sudden it'll switch to her brother's perspective while he's talking to her parents about her. And I was like, okay.
Interesting.
Normally, if you're doing first person, we're sticking with one person, or you're going back and forth between the two. But so we got her brother and his sister at a couple of points. And I think I would have preferred if we just stuck with Aphrodite. I think that would have made the flow work better. You didn't need to have Evander if you were, like, you know, there's the mystery of, like, what his backstory is. I didn't feel like his POV contributed that much anyway when we did get it. Like, I would rather have just had Aphrodite if it was going to be first person. Like, it almost felt like, I enjoy head hopping in older historicals, which obviously only works in third person. But I'm a big head hopping fan. I think, like, Lisa
She's
Kleypas,
a head hopper, guys.
I am a head hopper. I know that if I were writing, I would be doing that, and I love, like, when Lisa Kleypas does it. There are some really lovely moments. Like, I love some good head hopping. This felt like it was almost reminiscent of that, where, like, you need an external character to give you a perspective on the main character, but it just didn't. When you're doing it in first person, I get too confused. There are too many people saying I.
That is odd. See, I have a problem with first person present. Or is it third person present? I may be
I'm not a big present tense person.
It's third present. So it's like Hannah is doing this. Hannah is doing that. Hannah is running.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
I fucking hate it.
I'm just not a huge. This one is past tense. But having now complained about the POV thing, other than that, I didn't really have any major issues. There were still a couple of, like, moments where the dialogue felt a little weird to me, but, like, overall, I had a good time. I think the audiobook was a great choice. I enjoyed it. It got a little heavy. It got a little heavy. And I appreciate that, like, the heroine, Aphrodite, like, royally fucks up at the end of this book. Like, she makes a bad decision.
Uh-oh.
And Evander is like, how could you do that? Like, why would you do this? Like, he's upset with her. He doesn't, like, stay angry with her for a super long time. And, like, she does her best to make up for it. But, like, there are consequences, which I love. Because I love when an author, like, really leans into, like, my main character is going to mess something up.
Yeah.
And it's going to be bad. And they're going to have to, like, fix it. It's going to be bad. And I think it worked.
That's good. I love when they're held accountable, like, when they know they fucked up. Or, like, someone, like, reads them to filth. And, like, if it's, like, a friend or something. And they're just like, you fucked up. Go apologize, go do the right thing. Because nothing is worse than a main character committing a grievous error and then the other person is the one who grovels, not the person who, like, did the dirty deed. And so that can sometimes ruin a book, which kind of, I have an example of that I read. But in another POV, you know, kind of outside of the norm. So I'm eating my words a bit because The Nanny by Lana Ferguson doesn't come out until I think April of 2023. You get, like, the first few chapters of the main heroine, Cassie. And I didn't know if this was going to be, like, dual POV, but I assumed so because it had, like, Cassie at the top of, like, the chapter. So I was like, okay. And like, I am a huge fan of single POV in contemporaries. It's just something I like. I like the mystery of it. But this one, it did it in such an odd way because you only got, like, a few of his POVs. Like, his name is Aiden. Like, you only, like, they were, like, sporadic, but they were meaningful. So whenever you got his POV, you were like, the tension was so high because you needed to know what he was thinking. So it didn't like ruin any surprise because the tension was there. And so then when you saw what he was thinking about, but most of the time it was going back to Cassie. So you were still living in that kind of like, what's he thinking? Like, what's going through his head? Like, how is she experiencing this different than he is? And so you only, like, there was a distinct gap between the amount of Cassie POVs and Aiden's, and I adored it. I want that to be standard. I think it was such a cool way to approach dual POV while still having like a true like main character, because obviously like some of the ones that are just single POV can tend to skew into like the women's fiction just because you get a lot more development from the one you have the POV of. But I sure as shit loved that book. It was the hottest contemporary romance I traditionally published. I think that I've read. I mean, maybe Kiss Quotient is up. It's up there.
I was gonna say the Kiss Quotient's pretty.
Dude, this one is hot. She was an OnlyFans, so she had an OnlyFans, and he was her subscriber, and like he like private shows. Like she didn't know who he was. He would always have like the Zoom camera off. And then she had stopped for reasons that we don't know at the beginning. And she's going to school to become an occupational therapist. And so then she had started OnlyFans because she needed money, and then something happened. So then she stopped, and then she needs money. She sees this personal ad in, I think, the newspaper somewhere that says Nanny wanted. And then she responds, and she has a great resume because she's worked in hospital. She got laid off at a hospital, and so she knows what she's doing. She knows CPR. She's trained. And so he's like, whoa, I need to hire her. So then he's like, hey, come to this restaurant. She thinks she's going on like a date, or like not a date, like a very fancy interview. So she dresses up, but he's the chef there. And see, I didn't read the summary, so I didn't know he was a chef. God. So imagine my delight when this man shows up in a chef coat and he's like the head chef of a very ritzy restaurant. I was like, well, this is a lovely development. I was so happy. And then he's like, I think you misunderstood. This was just my break. And then she's like, oh shit. The humor was great. The writing style was right up my alley. Like I said, super hot. There's toys. The tension is just so palpable. His daughter's great. I truly loved that book. The only thing I needed more of was cooking content, because you have this man who is like a truly like a hot daddy chef. Like you need to have him cook for her, and he like never did. I don't know if the author's just like not into cooking, or like didn't. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to write about cooking. I know nothing about it. But that's the only thing I was missing, because I was craving something to happen related to food. The main thing is that he can't cook pancakes, and so she's the only one who can in the house, and so the daughter always craves them. So I'm like, okay, well, you have her cooking a lot more than he is, which was confusing. Not enough to rate it anything below 5 stars. But yeah, I loved that. It was such a surprise. And the next book that the author's coming out with, Lana Ferguson, is a shifter romance. It's not in the same world at all. I love the jump. I don't know. I know we got like 2 chapters, I think, from that book at the end of this one, and it seems very good. I am here for it. A grumpy doctor shifter man, sure. Sign me up. So
romance.
That was a wonderful book. The cover needs some work. It's a lot of blue. I don't quite know why it looks like it does, but sometimes it matters on what's like the inside matters, I guess.
Oh my god. Don't judge a book by its cover.
If I would have judged by its cover, I would not have read this book. And I was holding off, but then I couldn't. Curiosity got me. Curiosity and karma are cats. I could not stay away. Do you have any others?
I do not.
Then my only other one is partially a recommendation, but partially to talk about the ending thing, the whoever causes the breakup has to be the one to actually like, you know, be the groveler. In Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese. I just finished that audiobook not too long ago. I'm super excited for this one. That ending definitely irritated me because I don't think the person who was responsible groveled at all, and I think the person who was wronged was just way too lenient. I can't say what I'd do in that situation. I'd probably be happy to just be walked all over, but it was kind of frustrating. And the writing style just wasn't for me. She had a lot of adjectives and like we know how I am about whimsy. It it rarely works for me. There was a line let me see. Okay, here. There was a line where we are in his POV and he describes his dad as all sharp prickles. And for some reason, describing a horrible, toxic father as all sharp prickles just destroyed my life. I hated it so much. It didn't really impact that's like a one example of just things I don't like. And that's just like writing style. So like it's just not really for me. I didn't despise the book or anything. I think I gave it 3.5, so I rounded up to 4. But all sharp prickles, I guess. I don't know. But that's the first Chloe Leese I've ever read. So I would be interested in going back to her Berkman Brothers series because I think we both heard like great things about that one. But yeah, so I recommend it, especially if you love Chloe's writing, or if you just want to experiment with it. I don't regret reading it, so the audiobook was good. The male narrator was a little bit rough, but that tends to happen. I wish that would go away.
I'm not gonna do the audiobook. I have the physical copy, but I heard much ado and I said sign me. I'm really trying to find this TikTok because you kept saying we know how you are about whimsy, and immediately I keep thinking about this. Oh, I found it. Guy who stitched, like, somebody was like, what's your plan B, like, if you don't get married? Mm-hmm. And the guy that stitched it is like a redneck looking guy in like a baseball cap and sunglasses. And his response was marriage for me is like plan Z, section whatever. For me right now, it's all about exploring my whimsical nature. It's about exploring my whimsical nature. And that phrase has been I'm sending it to you, took up occupancy in my brain. The way that this man, because this is like a redneck, this is a man who drives a truck, I have to assume. And so for him to show up on the internet and say, I'm just really exploring my whimsical nature, I was like, yes.
Well, sir, read Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leese.
Lean into your whimsical nature.
Explore your whimsical nature.
Put that on my LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Too annoying for Satan. Exploring her whimsical nature.
But I think that was basically everything. I mean, I reread The Duke in Question by Amalie Howard. It's out now. That was an audiobook reread because I read The Ark. Amazing. I've seen people reading it. They're all giving it 5 stars. Maybe you will too. It was so good. It was so hot. And I love it. I love Amalie, and I sure think you should read that. Maybe that'll get you out of a slump. Oh. Yeah. I'm currently reading the Erica Ridley one. What is it? Nobody's Princess. So that one's good so far. Very cute.
Did you ever finish The Perks of Loving a Wallflower?
Nope. But this audiobook hold was running out. So I got 70% through Perks of Loving a Wallflower, and then that's when I had to like move home, and like I was like on a plane and flying, and I forgot I was reading like the physical copy, so then I forgot the physical copy in New York. And then at some point I got the audiobook from Forever in like the Facebook group, and so I have the audiobook, so I'm probably just going to start it over, but this one was like going to leave me in a few days, and I didn't want it to be gone by that time. And so then I was like, okay, I know I got 70% into the other one. Like I pretty much know what happens. So I'm doing this one. I'm gonna jump back to that one and live my out of order life. So
that's chaotic.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we talked for twice as long as we were supposed to.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. Toodaloo. Bye-bye. I mean, shouldn't we?
I don't know. Shouldn't we what?
Links to anything you need.
Bro, I am so tired. Salty Caroline reads Fringe book reviews. Romance or TBR.
Yep, romance or TBR. Everything's in the show notes if you need it. If you don't,
are the books.
Yeah.
As are probably the TikTok I mentioned about that man's whimsical nature.
I am so excited to indulge in his whimsical nature. That's a phrase that you don't hear at all. So
how do I make that my bio on social media?
Whimsical nature. Okay. Bye-bye.